Now, some of you may or may not know that Jay Prince just recently had an incident with one of his artists that he's financially invested in by the name of YBN Almighty J. YBN Almighty J was in New York City, and he was robbed, he was beaten, publicly humiliated, and just thank the Most High that he's actually alive from surviving that attack that was just unjustly. It was just unjustly, it was wrong, it was cowardice. Everything dastardly that you can think of, it was wrong. And it happened in New York City. That's wrong on any level of humanity. I don't care if you're white, black, Mexican, Asian, whatever. Anybody that gets attacked like that in public and humiliated like that, nobody deserves that whatsoever. I don't care what you are or who you are, right? That is a humanity thing. Jay Prince goes on Instagram and basically does a public service announcement, a PSA, and basically calls out all of the NY rappers, NY artists, influencers, etc. And just say, hey, you know, one of my artists I'm invested in, YBN Almighty J, was jumped, was beaten, robbed for his chain, humiliated and recorded by these so-called goons in New York. This happened, you know, in your backyard. Let's come together and let's resolve the situation, and let's be proactive and make sure this doesn't happen again. You know, this artist happens to be black, and also the people who were involved, the suspects, were black. So let's resolve this issue. Let's come together. Let's come up with the solution. Let's see what's happening. So he tagged a whole bunch of artists, influencers, you know, in his Instagram post, and it was not well received. My son, who I follow on Instagram, you know, he replied back, you know, respectfully, you know, and just, I'm not going to read the whole post, but just to give you a synopsis, he basically said, listen, if we need to come together, you know, with the solution, don't post it on social media, call me on my phone. You know what I mean? And, you know, I really don't think that your message was well received, because I took it the wrong way. But, you know, if you want to hash this out, just call me on the phone and let's see what we can do. Right. So from what I'm hearing, I think that Jay Prince did reach out to my song, and they, you know, came to a resolution. So much respect to my son, you know, for at least reposting this, because everybody else who originally that Jay Prince tagged this on, right, doesn't care or didn't acknowledge it, at least in social media. You know, all of these artists, all of these influencers, they do, especially in New York, they do their own thing. You know, from this post, and when I read it the first time, I was like, okay, I respect that, Jay Prince. You know, I don't agree with everything that Jay Prince says, but he's basically saying that, listen, there's a problem. One of my artists, you know, got robbed and beaten and publicly humiliated in New York, in your backyard. Let's see what we can come up with. You know, let's come to a resolution. Let's get some unity. And that's what I got from that post. So a couple of days later, he just posted a clarification, tagged the same people, and he says this. I'll read the post. He says, let me make myself clear. I was never asking any of y'all for help in any capacity. I don't need you, I don't know you, or trust any of y'all to do anything concerning the streets for me. With that being said, I witnessed a clown campaigning, bragging, and snitching on himself on a public video about robbing industry people in your backyard. So I took it upon myself to alert the ones I have respect for. It is clear to me that went over your head. Just for some clarity, I've been using ties in the Bronx and throughout New York for a long time. And now it's gotten even stronger with my youngsters. So don't give any people I tag credit for what others earn, because they're all strangers to me, other than music. So all of you so-called gangster clowns, there's a time and a place for everything, and I'm going to give you what you asked for. To all of you that's trying to narrow down my message to me, wanting the chain lacks the depth of understanding that real street niggas have. That's why you're all squares. There's a moment taking place by the timid and the weak that wants to change the meaning of strong and weak. And the meaning of weak and strong, my track record speaks for itself. So I wouldn't lip wrestle with punks. I notice a lot of young men on the East Coast that like to invite men to suck their private parts. They call themselves gangsters, but real men don't invite other men to suck their dicks unless they're gay. Facts. I guess if you're asking to suck on you and say, okay, you're gonna get naked, now you know better. Hopefully your punk ass niggas will be better. Or maybe it feels good being a punk ass nigga or a punk gay ass nigga from New York, right? So I agree with everything that J Prince says in this post. And that's what I got in the first message. I was like, he just basically saying, listen, there's a problem. One of my artists got robbed and beaten, humiliated in New York. Hey, this happened in your backyard. Let's make sure, let's come together. Let's get some unity. And, you know, let's see what we can come up with. And let's try to prevent anybody else who is an artist or an influencer in New York from getting robbed in New York. All right. Now I could easily say, well, why was YBN, you know, Almighty J out in New York by himself with no security? I could easily say that. Well, you know, that's another topic of conversation we can have, right? But his original post, J Prince's original post, was basically saying, hey, this happened in New York. My artist got robbed, got attacked. You know, let's come to a resolution. Let's get some unity and make sure this doesn't happen again. Let's be proactive. That's what I got out of the first post. But of course, like I said, he posted that and there was mixed messages throughout all of these New York influencers. Nobody reposted this thing. You know what I mean? Nobody acknowledged it. All these artists, all these influencers, right? And this, you know, the post that J Prince did, you know, exposes the lack of unity, not only in New York, but in black society. You see, this reminds me, right? Because a couple of things, and this guy actually added China Mag. China Mag is a rapper also, but he's Asian. And there was a song by, I believe, Little Yacht, not Little Yachty, one of those little rappers. I can't think of his goddamn name because I don't follow these little rapper names. Was it Little, what's the name of that damn rapper, man? Who does Skid It? Let me just look it up real quick. I think I'm spelling it wrong. Skid It? Lil Pump. Okay, there you go. The Lil Pump rapper, right? Lil Pump rapper says something derogatory towards the Asian community. China Mac, who's Asian, who's from the Asian community, was like, listen, you're going to apologize because that's disrespectful, okay? And I don't want to hear that record again, right? China Mac went out and said that he protected his community. That's, you know, he's following his code in his own community. And guess what? Lil Pump apologized to, I'll look it up right now. Lil Pump apologized to China Mac. Okay? See? See all that stuff? So China Mac calls out Lil Pump for mocking the Asian community. And Lil Pump apologized. Okay? So that's the same thing as saying, hey, something happened that was wrong in my community. We need to come together and do something about it and resolve the situation. Apologize because you disrespected my community. So it's the same thing here. J Prince calls out the New York influencers and says, hey, my artist was disrespected. He was beaten. He was robbed in your community. Let's come together and make sure this doesn't happen again. But yet these New York rappers, they got, everybody is doing their own thing. There's no unity at all. No unity. Even Remy Ma, who I respect. Just like J Prince, I respect these guys. You know, everybody's into themselves. So, you know, again, other communities like the Asian community, like the Jewish community, like the Native American community, you disrespect their own. It doesn't matter who you are in their community. You can be just an average Joe. You disrespect them, you disrespect the whole community, their whole society. And they stand up because they follow a code. And black society doesn't. And Jay Prince just exposed that. Well, it's already been exposed. This is just further cements and solidifies the lack of code and the lack of integrity that black society has altogether. You see, when you have people who rob and beat people in public and record it and talking about, you know, inviting somebody to suck their private parts, that means they were raised by single mothers. You know what I'm saying? And lack of a father raising their household, which goes back to the destruction or the you know, the catastrophe of the black family structure, which has been a plan since Margaret Sanger and the dominant white society trying to make sure that black society as a whole continues to be at the bottom of the totem pole in every statistical category you can think of, which is why ADOS is extremely important, which is why reparations is extremely important, that we have to get back so that we can have the equal or the more and fair share of the wealth and resource gap that we solely deserve. But again, that's another topic of conversation right there. But like I said, Jay Prince has exposed the lack of unity that New York rappers and influencers have, and black society as a whole, because this incident was wrong on all levels. It was wrong. Should have never happened to anybody on any level. It was wrong. At least acknowledge that part. Nobody acknowledged that part. At least my son, you know, responded back and said, hey, I appreciate you reaching out to me, but, you know, call me on the phone. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else is into their own world. There's no unity in New York. And there's no unity in black society, period, because we don't have a code that we follow. The only code that we follow is the coon code, and that's it. Like I keep saying, we know how to coon for the white man. That's a code that we follow, but everything else we don't follow. We don't have no honor, no integrity for ourselves, for our community whatsoever. Something bad happens, we need to call it out and make sure it doesn't happen again to any of us. This is something that happened that's extremely bad and shouldn't happen to anybody. And Jay Prince called it out. Right? So, you know, those are my thoughts about that, family. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think about YBN Almighty Jay and his incident in New York and Jay Prince's comments. You know, Jay Prince definitely is going to come to a resolution with or without New York, with or without the New York rappers and influencers. He will come to a resolution. He doesn't need these influencers. He was just trying to make a statement by bringing in unity, and none of these guys are on accord with one another. As a matter of fact, everybody on this list, they don't care for one another. They got beef with one another, or whatever the case may be. Some of them have mutual ties, but for the most part, there's no unity in New York, and there's no unity in black society, period. So, all right, family, those are my thoughts about that. Make sure you follow me on social media at GMOGMediaTV. Until next time, family, Chauncey, GMOGMediaTV, signing out. Peace.